Is there a lot of trade talk at this point about, maybe moving around in the draft, Pierre, or is that?
Well, we have a GM's meeting in about an hour, so I'm sure talks will get heated. I think as with a lot of my counterparts, we were talking a lot about expansion draft, and I think now that the expansion draft has gone by, there'll be certain regular trade talk and come back on, and at the same time, we're going to look at moving up or moving down in the draft.
What would be your determining factor in moving up, and what is it sounds like the price is high in moving up, isn't it?
The price is always high in moving up at this point in the time, because the GM just goes in rooms like that and all the scouts tell him that you got to keep the pick, like we're going to get a good player at this pick. So I doubt very much I will move up. We don't have a lot of picks, so we could probably use some of our picks and package them and get more picks.
Would the option be for you if you thought you could get a guy at, let's say, 36 or 37 to maybe move back and get a couple of picks for that first pick?
Yeah, we're going to look at, like we've done that in the past, and we'll keep on doing it. Last year we felt that to get Logan Brown, it was worth the sacrifice a third rounder, even though it was one pick difference. And it could be the other way around. Another team that comes to us at 28 and feels that there's a guy that they feel might not be there in the second round, and we give them 28 and they give us a few second round picks. So I think that's a lot of things that could be on the table, but a lot of those deals are discussed on the moment, and sometimes you can tell a team will phone you when pick 23 is on. If our guy's still there at 28, would you consider doing that? And that's, from the history of the draft, that's what we've seen happen.
In your discussions with your scouting staff, if you stay at 28, what do you think you can get, or what do you hope to get? Well, other than the best player available.
Other than the best player available, I was hoping for a franchise player, but they just told me we're not going to get that. So we think that we're going to get someone that's going to play for our team within the next few years, someone that we feel is going to contribute, someone probably in the top 9 forward, regular defenseman, along those lines.
Now that it's passed, what's your impression of the whole expansion draft process and having gone through it now?
It was a lot of fun. It was something that, as a first-year GM, and like a lot of my counterparts did, probably hadn't lived through. And we found out a lot about how to deal with George, and talking to other of my counterparts through the past week. And it was a great experience. I think Vegas put themselves a very good hockey team. And, it was they paid a lot of money to get a player. They got a good one from us. And we move on.
That process, did it make it any busier, do you find, or did it create more opportunity potentially for, maybe not you guys, but from what you saw, other teams go get what they needed to get?
From our side, I can't speak for what other teams did. From our side of things, last Saturday was probably my busiest day in my tenure as a GM. I think the phone started ringing at 7:44 and I was on the phone till 2:55. So to me, that was a day that there was a lot of teams and I talked to many of my counterparts that day, circling back, just making sure if there was any way we could help each other. It wasn't about not helping Vegas, it was about helping each other before you had to submit your list. As far as other teams, I don't like to comment on what other teams have done, but from our side of things, we knew that this could happen and we lost a good player, but at the same time, we feel we've got probably the best defenseman outside the NHL coming up in Thomas Chabot, and we all saw how Ben Harper played in the playoffs in tough series, played very well, and at the same time, we also have Freddie Kleisen that we all know can take a bigger role on our team.
At what point for you did you come to the realization that you were probably going to lose Mark?
I found out after all you guys found out. I got a text at 11:45.
Is that what you expected, though, heading into it?
It was one of many scenarios. We explored a lot of scenarios. We had many discussions with George, and we could tell that was one player they were looking at, and it was well within their right to take him. And we had discussions about trade possibilities, but we felt the price. I don't think George and I were on the same page right from the get-go. We just felt the price was so steep.
Were you disappointed or frustrated with losing him?
More disappointed.
Yeah.
Never frustrated. It was more of a disappointment, just because Mark's a great person to start off. He's from Ottawa. Everyone knows that his fiancée is from Ottawa. They're expecting a child at some point in time during the season. So from a human side of things, we were disappointed because we're letting go someone that probably played their best hockey in their career in the last year, and I think he'd taken a step in his game, and you lose a key component like that. But at the same time, it's not the end of the world. We got some good players that can come up.
I have to ask you though, did Carl come to you at all and say, maybe try to do something to keep this guy here?
No, I don't think Carl's the GM yet, but
we all know he likes to give his opinion.
Yes. No, Eric was good. I had the opportunity to spend a few hours with Eric on the plane to Vegas. So we talked briefly about it. I talked to Eric actually Saturday after we had to submit our list. And no, Eric understands. Eric's had a lot of partners in his career. He feels comfortable with Mark Mathot, but he also played with Phil Kuba, who was good with him. I know he likes to play with Freddie Kleisen. He's talked to me about Thomas Chabot. So we have Boro that can play a bigger role. Boro's played with him before. So it's not the case of we lost the best defenseman in the NHL. It's a case that we lost his partner, and there was a big difference between that.
Were you able to talk to Mark before the draft? What was his reaction to finding
Yes, I talked to him yesterday at about noon when I found out that Las Vegas, and I just thanked him for everything. He's just a quality human being. Mark is probably one of the guys that, not that you have a close relationship with all your players, but is someone that he had the pulse of the room, and he's really a good quality human being. And in some ways, you are disappointed for him. But at the same time, it's a business, and we move forward, and we just go about it.
You said it was pretty clear early that Vegas was asking too much for you to keep them. Were there a lot of other teams that were contacting you, trying to get him before the draft?
Yeah, teams did contact us, but in some ways, as an organization, we didn't want to trade Mark Mathot. We just felt that we owed it to him, that if Vegas was going to take him, it was their right. But at the same time, we did explore options about a trade. But at the same time, if you trade Mark, probably the asset you're getting back, you're going to have to left unprotected. And then Vegas is going to take another asset. So at the same time, there are chances that we're going to lose 2 to 3 to 4 assets just to protect one. And that's something that we weren't ready to do as an organization. We have tremendous respect for Mark, what he's accomplished in Ottawa. He's a salt of the earth guy, but at the same time, we have to do what's best for the Ottawa Senators hockey team.
Is it a situation where you were going to need to create room regardless on the back end with all the talent that you're talking about coming up for next year?
Yeah, but you don't want to lose a guy that plays the important minutes that Mark plays, and it's not the worst thing for some of your young prospects to spend a bit of time in the minors, but at a certain point in time, there would have been a logjam on our defense group, and it was well within Vegas' right to take him, and from there we're just going to move forward, and it gives more opportunity to the players that we have. But we're still going to look on July 1st. We might still look at replacing, but we're just going to look at all options. I don't think we'll go and sign the biggest names, but we could sign someone that would be more than happy to play with Erik Karlsson. We'll look at July 1st with what's going on. Obviously, we're allowed to contact players before, so we might present the situation where you have a chance to play with Erik Karlsson, but at the same time, we have to look what's right for our hockey team. Maybe we'll also look at adding a center if Derek's not ready for when the season comes on, or when the season starts. So we always have to look at every scenario. We're going to look at trades possibly. We'll look at July 1st free agents, but at the same time, it's to make sure that we can field the best hockey team possible to continue on the path that we were on from last year.
What does the person who plays with Erik Karlsson have to do?
Give him the puck.
No,
I probably gave you my best answer of the day. Give the puck to Erik Karlsson. That's very simple. I think when you play with Erik, you've got to have a certain comfort level. Erik is a very demanding defenseman, but at the same time, he can give you way more room than if you played with anyone else. Yeah. And for us, in losing Mark, someone else pointed this out to me, so I can't take the credit for it. But you look at the teams, the 4 teams that were in the conference finals. Pittsburgh had to give up Fleury and a pick. Nashville had to give up James Neal. Anaheim had to give up a really good defenseman in Shea Theodore and Clayton Stoner. We were the one team that wasn't ready to do it, and because we feel we have the depth coming, or we can explore other means to still keep on the same path.